Under Portugal's old terrain sits a secret part of our human past at AA do Caldeiro. Scientists discovered signs of Neils and ancient humans, but what they found, beyond expectations, turned everything upside down. The move from people who hunted and gathered to music people who farmed. This shift wasn't just a basic change, it was a massive transformation, almost wiping out the previous lifestyle and marking the DNA of today's Portuguese population, a finding that links us to history but also forces us to ask who we truly are. Come with us as we reveal the mysteries of Portugal's genetic past. The word Portugal likely comes from the Latin portus clay. Portus means port, pointing to a harbor location, and cle seems to come from the old settlement in that place, perhaps shaped by Phoenician or Celtic words. The Phoenicians, who were famous for building ports and communities along the Iberian coast, may have shaped both the speech and early culture in this area, adding to its sea-based traditions. Research has discovered Phoenician genetic traces spread across the Mediterranean, with certain findings showing that about 1 in 17 men in the wider Mediterranean area hold a unique Phoenician genetic marker. This trend also shows up in sections of Portugal, especially along the shore, pointing to old links through commerce and settlement, music, about 14,000 years back, as the final ice period finished. Hunter-gatherers from the Iberian refuge Jim moved across what is today music. Portugal genetic proof reveals that these first people held hair groups like HU and V still found in current Portuguese DNA. A 2015 research printed in Science relied on ancient DNA testing to verify these movements. In appearance, these ancient hunter-gatherers probably had dark skin and brown eyes. As shown by research of Mesolithic European groups in Music Nature, they were fairly short in height, showing the survival-focused way of their surroundings, now roughly 5 to 10% of mother-side family lines in current. Portuguese groups can link back to these ancient pioneers, though this share is larger in more countryside and remote places where genetic connection with old groups tends to be stronger. About 7,500 years back, Neolithic farmers from Anatolia, current-day Turkey, carried farming to the Iberian Peninsula. These first farmers brought new father-side halar groups, such as G2A and E1B1B, to the genetic music mix. Research estimate that 50% of Portuguese roots come from these ancient farmers, though this changes greatly between areas. For example, in more countryside sections of central and southern Portugal, there is deeper connection with Neolithic groups, while city areas have gained more genetic influence from later movements. Neolithic farmers probably had paler skin than the hunter-gatherers, but still kept dark hair and brown eyes. Their more steady farming ways also led to a small rise in height. This time left a strong mark on the Portuguese gene pool, especially in the more farming area regions of Baba and Alento. The Copper and Bronze periods, about 4,500 years back, saw the coming of the Bell-Bear culture, which brought major genetic shifts to the area. A 2018 study in Nature showed that the Bell Beakers carried the R1BM269H halar group, a father-side sign now present in 60% of male lines in Portugal, especially in northern and central areas. These newcomers probably had paler skin, and some held genes for blue or green arrays. Their body features were taller, build lighter skin, and sometimes light hair. They started to vary the population, especially in northern Portugal, where their genetic additions remain most clear today. During the Iron Age Celtic groups, like the Lucanians and Galicians, moved to Portugal, further strengthening the presence of the R1B Ha group, especially in northern music. Portugal genetic research suggests that these Celtic movements had a deeper effect in countryside northern areas, where Celtic cultural ways lasted for centuries. The Roman takeover of Lusitania in the 2nd century BC brought new parts of genetic variety, especially in southern Portugal and shore cities like Lisbon. Roman hair groups such as J2 and T show Mediterranean roots and are more frequent in city places where Romans created structures and lived in bigger numbers. Romans usually had olive skin, dark hair, and brown eyes, features that are more common in these areas. Music. Now the fall of the Roman Empire carried Germanic groups like the Sui and Visigoths to Portugal during the 5th and 6th centuries, and these groups left a smaller genetic mark compared to previous populations, but they still brought HLA groups like I1 and R1AA, linked with Northern Europe research, suggest that these Heer groups are more common in northern Portugal, especially in countryside places where genetic flow has been less music broken. In the 8th century, the Muslim Moors from North Africa controlled much of the Iberian Peninsula, including Portugal for nearly 500 music years. Their genetic effect is most clear in southern Portugal, where HLA groups like E1B1B and J1 became common. The Moors probably had darker skin, dark hair, and brown eyes features that are more frequent in southern Portugal, especially in the Alento and Alave music areas. Alongside the Moors, Sephardic Jews also had an important part in Portuguese. Past a 2013 research discovered specific Jewish HLA groups, like K and H, still found in current populations, especially in city places such as Lisbon and Porto, where Jewish communities were historically present. Sephardic Jews pushed out or made to convert during the Portuguese Inquisition of 1497 probably had dark hair, dark eyes, and Mediterranean music looks. Now, Portugal's genetic variety shows the many parts of movement and living that formed its music past northern Portugal. Especially areas like Minho display strong effects from Celtic and Germanic populations. People in these places tend to have paler skin, blue or green eyes, and blonde or light brown hair, features tied to northern European roots. Countryside northern areas tend to have more genetic flow with these old groups, while city centers in the north have gained more recent genetic music influence in central Portugal, such as in the Bias and Douro Valley. The genetic mix is more even with effects from Celtic, Roman, and Moorish music populations. Genetic research show that people in central Portugal have a broad range of body features, from light skin and eyes in the north to darker Mediterranean looks. Further south, central Portugal works as a shift zone where varied effects have blended over thousands of years in southern Portugal, especially in the Alento and Algar areas. The effect of Neolithic farmers, Romans, Moors, and Sephardic Jews is more clear. People here are more likely to have olive skin, dark hair, and brown eyes, showing deep links to Mediterranean and North African populations. The genetic variety across Portugal reflects the past movements and settlements that shaped regional surnames. For example, northern Portugal's Celtic and Germanic roots show lighter body features and surnames based in Celtic music beginnings. Before Roman control, the Iberian Peninsula was lived in by native tribes such as the Lucanians, who spoke pre-Roman Iberian languages and built the region's early culture. Surnames from this time often relate to the ground geographic features or local plants and animals. The Celts lived in parts of Iberia before Roman takeover, especially in the northern areas, leaving behind surnames often tied to geography, tribal identity, or natural things. These surnames often show Sea Celtic respect for nature and ground. The Romans took over Iberia around the 2nd century BC, leaving a deep mark on the culture, language, and surnames of the area. Latinized surnames from this time often point to Roman gods' jobs or noble qualities, showing Roman society's ranked structure and cultural beliefs. Music after the fall of the Roman Empire. Germanic groups like the Visigoths controlled parts of Portugal, bringing the region with their own cultural and speech background. Germanic names often point to traits like strength and leadership, or connect to nature and music, high status. The Moors controlled Portugal from the 8th to the 12th centuries, carrying Arabic language, science, and culture to the Iberian Peninsula. Arabic origin surnames often have the prefix al and are linked with nature, jobs, or towns. The Jewish community had an important part in Portuguese society until the Inquisition in the 15th century made many to convert or leave. Sephardic Jewish names often show Hebrew beginnings, or Portuguese words taken during the Inquisition to blend into local society. Portugal's DNA shows an interesting tale of mixing between various peoples. Over thousands of years, the first Iberian people were joined by Romans, Germanic groups, North African Moors, and Jewish communities, among music others. Each group that lived in Portugal left their mark. You can see it now in Portuguese genes, family names, and ways of life. Current Portuguese people hold this varied background in their DNA, making them a living link to many parts of history. If you liked this journey, subscribe to our channel for more tales about the DNA of nations and ways of life. Watch our other videos on genetic past around the world and go deeper into the background within names, locations, and people. And don't forget to like, comment, and share this video to help others find the amazing links that form to today's world.